Hi, guys. Welcome back for our daily practice questions. It is day 336, and as always, I like to first start with my introduction and disclaimer before getting started with our question for today. So, for those of you who are familiar with me, hey, y'all. For those of you who are new here, welcome, welcome, welcome. I am Dr. Brittany Weinstock, a family nurse practitioner and the founder and CEO of the Nursing Studio. I provide resources, tools, review courses, review videos, review books, digital flashcards, Q banks, one on one sessions, and more to assist nurses as well as nurse practitioners with success on their boards as well as in practice. I have been doing this since 2015, assisting nurses and nurse practitioners internationally with exam success. But y'all know my disclaimer and reminders that we know there's no absolutes in medicine. We treat on a patient by patient basis, and any of the questions that you see here, I have designed and created based on the current guidelines that are being tested on the ANCC as well as AANP exam. Now, any of my videos where I'm teaching on things that we currently do in practice, I will always say that so there's no confusion. So, with that being said, let's get into question number one for today. But before we get started, don't forget to hit the subscribe button so you're not missing any of my videos. And if you would like to gain access to my NP Test Success Toolkit, it is free and linked in the description. My website is also linked in the description, and it houses all of the resources that I do offer. And I always like to direct you to my business profile by simply going to Google and searching The Nursing Studio. It'll bring you here where you can find my contact telephone number, link to my website, and testimonials from previous review students. All right, y'all, question number one. A 52-year-old African American woman is newly diagnosed with hypertension. Her blood pressure today is 148/92 on two separate readings. She has no history of diabetes or CKD. Which is the most appropriate first-line medication? Is it A, lisinopril, B, hydrochlorothiazide, C, metoprolol, or D, hydralazine? Take a moment and tell me what you got, y'all. All right, and I always recommend reading the stem of the question first, as it allows you to slow down to ensure you're answering what is even being asked of you. So here the stem of the question states, which is the most appropriate first-line medication? So this is a treatment style question. And anytime it's looking for a treatment, I always tell you to run it back and see if they provided you with a diagnosis. Here, they have provided you with a diagnosis that lets you know that this African American female is newly diagnosed with hypertension. So then you need to think of your first line therapy options. So, I always say we have first line therapy of thiazides, ACEs, ARBs, and calcium channel blockers, with thiazides being the captain. Now, this is an African American female. So, with African American population, thiazides and calcium channel blockers are the primary two when we're not looking for renal protection, right? So still, thiazide is a captain unless there's something that's contraindicated for thiazides. So here, your best answer would be B, hydrochlorothiazide. All right, question number two. A 67-year-old man presents with fatigue and exertional dyspnea. On exam, you hear a blowing holosystolic murmur, best heard at the apex, radiating to the axilla. What is the most likely diagnosis? Is it A, mitral regurgitation, B, aortic stenosis, C, tricuspid stenosis, or D, mitral stenosis? Take a moment and tell me what you got in the comments, y'all. All right, stem of the question states, what is the most likely diagnosis? Now, when the stem of the question is looking for a diagnosis, you have to run it back and look to see what the assessment findings are showing you. And in this scenario, we have a 67-year-old male presents with fatigue and exertional dyspnea. And on exam, you hear a blowing holosystolic murmur. So we're talking about diagnosing the type of murmur. I always tell you when we're diagnosing murmur types, look for whether it is systolic versus diastolic and where it's located. So it lets us know that it's a systolic murmur. So we know that will be our mitral regurg and our aortic stenosis as options. So we can narrow this down to either A or B, right? And then the location is best heard at the apex that radiates to the axilla. Apex we know is mitral location. Radiation to axilla is mitral location, right? So the best answer will be A, mitral regurgitation. All right, and lastly, question number three. A 49-year-old man has the following fasting lipid panel: a LDL of 192, HDL of 48, triglycerides of 110, and he has no diabetes, and his 10-year ASCVD risk is 4%. What is the most appropriate treatment? Is it A, lifestyle changes only, B, start moderate intensity statin, C, start high intensity statin, or D, recheck lipids in 1 year? Take a moment and tell me what you got in the comments, y'all. All right, and stem of the question states, what is the appropriate treatment? So again, when they're looking for a treatment, we got to run it back and see if a diagnosis has been provided to us. If the scenario does not provide a diagnosis, you got to run it back a step further and look at those assessment findings so that you can determine what it is. So we have a 49-year-old man. He has a following fasted lipid panel. LDL is 192, so we know this is substantially elevated because we want that LDL to be less than 100. HDL can be slightly higher as it is a male patient we're talking about. We want male HDLs to be greater than 50 or above, females 40 or above. Triglycerides are within normal range as it's less than 150. So we remember that statins impact your LDL. It reduces the LDL. The higher the intensity of statin therapy, the greater percentage of reduction, right? So the best answer will be C, to start a high intensity statin, because high intensity statins can decrease the LDL by 50%. So that would be perfect to reduce this by 50% because that will put us less than 100 where we need to be for that LDL. All right, y'all. I hope you found this helpful. As always, be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and share with whoever you may think may find this beneficial as well. But y'all know what to do. Y'all make sure y'all meet me back here. And if you need any other resources that I do offer, feel free to reach out to the nursing studio. You can give us a call, shoot us a text message, or shoot us an email. And as always, everything that I do offer is linked in the bio of this channel, including my website. And as I mentioned previously, my website is also linked in the description of this video. All right, y'all. Y'all know what to do. Y'all make sure y'all meet me back here. Happy studying. Bye, y'all.